ready to bury all this pipe in the ground for our geothermal system for our shop heating and cooling. So we're going with the slinky loop method. So we got these rolls of pipe and we got 5 rolls. We're making 5 runs that will get buried in a trench, and that will be our ground heat exchanger for our geothermal. So we're at the ranch again this morning on Thursday. We've had pretty good weather. Last couple days have been sunny after a rainy day, so it's pretty sloppy on top, but it's November, early November, and so it's pretty dry still underneath. And we got all the conduit in the ditches here. I got the whole property tore up basically, and we're waiting for the inspector to come. So I got this conduit from the shop all the way over the container, and then we ended up putting in over around here up there to the well, and then continued on to that container on the right side of that container shelter. So we're waiting for inspection so I can cover that back up, and I'm hoping to get that done before the rain, because once this material gets rained on, there's no hope of getting it back in the ditch with any level of compaction whatsoever. We'll have to use completely rock over there in front of the driveway if they don't get here in time. So I think they moved the rain back. It's supposed to rain maybe this weekend, but Monday now is what they're calling for. So hopefully it holds off till Monday and we can get this material thrown back in before it gets rained on, and then we'll be in pretty good shape to get some rock spread out here and keep going through the winter. But yeah, I'm gonna, in the meantime, while I'm waiting for the inspector, I'm gonna jump across this ditch. I'm bringing the compaction wheel with me over here, and I'm gonna start putting in the geothermal loop field loops today and see how that goes. So I'll check back in with you once I get over there and get going, and we'll see how that goes. I gotta be really deep, and we're probably gonna get into water, so it could be a train wreck, but we'll go see what happens. Well, it's 1:30 now. I've been working kind of through lunch. I got the ditch dug as fast as I could, as far out there as I could. And I got the pipe in the ditch, but man, I'll tell you, it was a trick. I started caving in down low where it's really saturated, and I was shoveling like a fool to get it down in there. And then got all in there, few feet short, so I just dug a big bulb at the end downwards and wrapped it over on top of itself. Everything's still over 6 feet deep down there, so that should be fine. But yeah, the pipe's not really behaving. The zip ties are breaking like crazy. The bucket I'm using is barely wide enough, which is kind of how you want it for efficiency, but doesn't make it very nice to try to get the pipe down in there. So I got her in there, and it's really cold. Pipe's really stiff, so got it kind of behaving. I got some insulation on the pipe there for when it comes up through the shallower depths. So I got this kind of peeled back. I probably should have peeled it back more, but once we start going across the front here to these other runs, I'll probably have to peel the bank back in a V a lot more so we can get all our pipes in there without it caving off till the end. I think it's going to take about a day to do each one of these, so that'll be a bit of a chore. So yeah, I started trying to backfill it in lifts. I was walking out there, started caving in, started falling in the ditch, so I had to abort mission, and just going to start from that end and working kind of wedge shaped lifts this direction all the way towards me till I get to the end of the ditch, so that way I can get compaction on it still. So yeah, I guess I ran a locate wire in there too, just in case we ever want to know exactly where it is. I put it on the left edge over there and ran it out to the end, so that way if we're ever digging around here for some reason, we'll be able to know where it is. I don't know why we ever would need to, but if you only get one chance at this, so why not put it in now? So okay, I'm gonna get some lunch, and then after that, hopefully I can get this all backfilled up to about right in this area and leave this all open so we can keep running into the building. So probably leave it slope back a little up to this corner and get that whole trench right out there all backfilled hopefully today. So we're getting started here on Friday. Yesterday was Thursday. I put in this first geothermal loop, and it was about as hard as I thought it was gonna be. Going 8 feet deep. We're down here in the bottom, and it's wet. Once you get, I mean, it's wet on top because it's November, but there's about 2 feet of good dry material still under that, and then it starts getting wet, kind of sloppy black dirt, and then below down to like 6 feet, and then the last foot or so I'm going here, I mean maybe even 7 feet deep, it's slop, and then the 8th foot is kind of just hard, really hard clay. So we're getting it right down in that clay, down into definitely where there's going to be water sitting around the pipe all the time, so it's going to be awesome for the geothermal, but we'll get really good contact on the pipe with water around it. So anyway, I'm starting out the second one. We got cave-ins here at the beginning, and this trench that comes along the face of the building here, where I'm gonna, that's a mark for a run, and that's a mark. There's one more over there. I gotta slope it way back. You can see I started V'ing it out here really wide so we can get those last runs, because it's gonna have to stay open for matters of days and not cave off, so we can get our little building runs over here off of each loop before it caves in, because there's no coming back once you're digging this deep and it's this unstable. Once you leave with the excavator, you're not getting back in there, so there's no cleaning it out. And once there's pipe in the ditch, it's kind of risky. You're gonna risk messing up your 800-foot continuous run, grabbing it with the excavator, breaking it, and it's muddy, it's wet. We're starting to fill up with some water down there, but I don't think it's enough. We're gonna have to pump, which is a miracle. I was pretty much planning on having to pump this morning, but I'm not sure we'll have to. We could probably work in that much water there. So anyway, I'm gonna finish cleaning out this cave-in from last night there, and then keep V'ing this out and digging it across and get it a little bit farther here so I can take off to the east to my right, out this way, straight towards the front right corner of that old green truck there. Parallel my ditch from yesterday and try to get the pipe in there before it starts caving in. So I guess, yeah, this last you'll hear from me until that pipe's in the ditch, because it's a race against time from now on. So see how it goes. Heart gives in. Go inside.
Okay. Got that one.
Okay, and it goes in front.
Oh, in front?
Feed two of those insulation things over the end. Right on.
Oh, okay. Oh. Okay. Whoa, whoa, too much. Bring it back. Okay. Oh God, what is... yeah, it's a little higher, but...
need you to hold this.
Oh, okay. Oh.
now and then, and I'll go dig a little bit more. Got my layout line painted there, and I got the pipe laid out so I can kind of flatten out again. We're about to start digging this fourth trench, fourth one out of 5. Yesterday went really well. As we move to the left this way with all our trenches, it gets drier and drier. We're going uphill, so far, I don't know. At the beginning here, I'm starting to really get into a wet spot on the corner of the building here. Or crossover trench. You can see right there a bunch of water's coming in, a bunch of sloughing is going on. There's like a little river right there coming in, but didn't fill up too bad with water. It's about the same depth as yesterday. Of course, we have a lot more area down there now. Getting a longer trench, but I'm hoping it worked pretty good to just get going yesterday and let it come into the trench, and it just kind of dispersed enough that I could deal with it without pumping any. So we're gonna keep trying to do that. But yeah, I'm starting to get the hang of it now. I got this one at least 7.5 feet deep, so that's a good depth. I mean, that's really nice. All you really need is, the goal is getting 5 feet. They're 10 feet apart, so there's 5 feet all the way around them of usable volume for storing heat or whatever, storing energy in the ground. So if we can get a good 5 feet over the top of them before any atmospheric effect on the soil takes place in that top 3 or 2 feet. I've only ever really seen frost go maybe 18 inches here ever. I mean, and that it was like -15 for at least 2 weeks. I mean, it was ridiculous. And the frost, we tried to do a sewer job because there's an emergency sewer job during that. It was a disaster, but it only ever went about 15, 18 inches deep. So, I mean, of course the ground temperature below that, I mean, that's frozen ground, so 32-degree ground, which your geothermal is not going to work if your water's coming in as close to freezing. But yeah, so I mean, there's a good buffer to the atmosphere. And then I'm still gonna put, I mean, there's a pretty good slope away from the building in this region, and then out here about between me and the excavator there somewhere, it starts to flatten out to grade pretty well. But basically I can get quite a bit of rock in here on top of this too, so I'll have probably at least 6 inches of rock on top, which will help even more. So I mean, we're gonna be plenty deep, I think, and you can see with the water filling up in there, that is exactly what I was hoping for. You can tell how that pipe, you can kind of see the end of one loop right there. That pipe is going to be fully submerged in water all year round. I don't know, I never dug out here in August. I'm pretty sure you can find water here all year round. I mean, in July I was digging 4 feet deep right there, where that frost free is, and I found plenty of water, enough. I mean, we were pumping a lot of water out of there. We had to de-water the trench, so that was a nightmare. But I think right now is about the lowest the water table ever gets. We haven't had any real rain. It's not soaking down through the layers. There's 2 feet of dry dirt under the 1 inch or 2 inches of mud that's on top, and so none of the rainfall from this fall is getting down into the water table too much yet. It's all staying up on top, getting soaked in. But yeah, I think all year round you can generally have a pretty good idea that there's going to be water around the pipe all year round. So that'll be really good for temperature transfer, for energy transfer from the pipe into the ground. So the water will help facilitate that. So yeah, let's see if I can see. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but right, of course it's gonna focus right here behind my finger. There's a river coming out of the ground right there. So yeah, we better keep going, and I'm hoping today we'll get this one in, and then tomorrow we'll get the last one put in over here on the corner is the last run, and then I'll just have this crossover trench, the building run pipe, to backfill after that, and then this project will be done. And this is probably the hardest project I'm trying to squeeze in here at the end of the year with fighting the rain and stuff. So there'll be a pretty good transformation once we get the conduit backfilled from, I mean, all over there. Can't see it from here. Once we get all that backfilled, I'm gonna gravel all of the front. This big pile of rock in front of the shop can get spread out then, and we'll get it graveled over to the entrance by the road where my pickup is over there, and then we'll connect our little gravel that we have in front of the container shelter. We'll connect it down to the road, and then we'll gravel all the way over to the edge of that container there, so we have access to it and the old sheds there. So then we can start doing some carpentry and stuff, and keep working on some floor prep in this building, and just keep going all through the winter on carpentry and finishing it out, trying to get the shop maybe usable by the springtime before I have to start going and getting back to work doing excavation too much. Yeah, and hopefully we can get the shop moved, get my stuff out here. So that'll be really awesome. All right, well, I'm gonna get on the excavator and start swinging dirt. So the race begins again. I'll give you another update tomorrow. So it's Sunday. We're backfilling the 4th geothermal trench here. As I've been moving to the right, it's getting drier and drier, and so now I can backfill a lot faster because the ground's a lot more stable. I can get out there over the trench more safely. The first one, it'd be most efficient to just fill in the whole thing with about 2 feet and roll it in there, and then keep doing that. But you can't straddle the ditch, because when you start trying to roll it in and moving around, you start sinking and starts caving in, and so it's not really safe until you get a couple of lifts in here. But now it's strong enough I can get out here, and you can see I've got kind of 1, 2, 3 steps going, and I just keep those going all the way to the end, and it's pretty efficient that way. I'm only out here with the machine over this second step where it's only like a couple feet deep, so it's basically supported. Even though that isn't compacted in yet, it's almost supported, only down to 2 feet deep, so there's very low risk of it caving off once I'm out here. So I can sit here with the machine and reach that last step and compact it, but it's a little slower that way, but it's a lot safer, and we're getting into some pretty dry material and it's mixing up pretty nice. It's still really wet for about 40 feet right from the end of the trench down there, but it's kind of caving off still and not so stable, and it's hard to get the material back in there very well. It's so wet and mushy, but this stuff I'm working with down here is really nice, so that speeds it up a lot. The first trench was so slow because I couldn't even do these steps or anything. I just had a wedge of basically what I could reach, and I'd have to compact that 3 times, you know, switch the bucket 3 times. This is almost 3 times faster because I've got 3 steps going instead of just 1 basically. So it's Monday, the 11th of November, Veterans Day, and also my 28th birthday today. And the plan for today is to finish off this last geothermal loop. It's gonna rain today, it looks like, so we'll be getting a little wet. We're starting to accumulate quite a bit of water down in the ditch here, so I'm gonna go get the pump and get the solar generator on the forks of the tractor and bring it over here, and I can run the pump, and we'll string a long hose out there past that pile of dirt towards the ditch, roadside ditch over there, and try to just pump as much of that water out of there as we can, because it's going to be it was a little touch and go yesterday, even dealing with it in that 4th trench that I dug. I was kind of digging and just leaving a little check dam, and then I could push the water back with the bucket and wipe out my little check dam before I moved on to the next little phase of scoops. So it took a little longer to dig it that way, but it was worth it to not have to pump. But I think today there's enough water in there now. I mean, it's looking like it's getting close to 6 inches deep, so we'll pump a bunch of that out of there, and then we won't have to deal with trying to fish around blindly in the water down there and stuff, and backfilling will be a lot better, hopefully. I was kind of like a couple times all that water ran out in the trench, and then there wasn't very much in there, but then I backfill it from that end back this way, and it just pushes the water back as we go. And if you screw up and dump a scoop or make a little dam drop some material on accident too far out, then you got a big puddle of water you can't get out of there. Then it pumps like crazy, you can't compact it. So we'll just pump it out, and that'll be a little bit easier. I think it'll be worth the time, hopefully. So I'm gonna get my layout line painted and get the last loop filled pipes rolled out. They're in a big roll right now, so I've been rolling it out so it can flatten out a little bit again before I throw it in there, and get the tractor and the pump set up, and then I'll start digging after that. So I'll check back later.
Coffee cake.
Really?
Appy? Guess. Fox.
Fox is open?
Coffee cake.
Is it good?
I don't know. I can't eat it, so.
Is there still water in there?
Yeah, a little bit. Up in the front.
It's 1:30 now. We were getting these other runs done pretty consistently, the last 3 by 11:30, but I got here about a half hour late this morning, or a little less than a half hour, but a little late this morning, and there's a lot of water in the hole. It started dewatering, and that took a while. I was fiddling around waiting for that to pump out a little bit, and then started digging, and there's like the most water we've dealt with in this trench by far. It is running in like crazy. It's just wild how moving over 10 feet and you just find these little water systems here on this property, and it's flowing in there like crazy. You can see the ditch is just totally full of water now, so I'm gonna start backfilling like I normally do from this end and just working that water that way, and we left the pump in the hole over there by the door of the shop. So once I get all this water worked over there, we can pump it out, and then I can start filling in that cross trench. But I'll probably just get this one just about filled in today, and then it'll be about time to call her quits. So I'm guessing it'll be well after dark by the time I get this trench filled in now. So it's been taking until about 3:30 or 3:45, and it gets dark at 4 pretty much. So by the time I track back over there to the pickup all the way by the road, and I mean, you can't see it, it's right there, and get fueled up and greased. And then last night I had to tighten some bolts on this thing and stuff. By the time I get ready to go the next day, it uses up all the daylight. So I'll try to get this filled in and as much as I can. If we have to leave it a little bit open, we can finish it up tomorrow. So alrighty, time to swing some dirt. Tuesday the 12th, the next day here. I came over this morning. It's a really nice day. It's warm, windy, drying out. I mean, it's not that warm, but it's not that cold either. So came over and got all my connections made here to the manifold and tidied up the pipe the best I could, tied it all together and tried to get it situated where I wanted it, and built a little holder here so we can pour around it when we pour the floor, and we should be able to reach in behind there and get it kind of flat and stuff for the stud wall to sit on. But this pipe, it's super stiff. It's tough stuff. It's like you really gotta wrestle it around into place and kind of got it all folded into the corner down there and lined up right. So yeah, that looks pretty good. It's about as tidy as you can make it with that pipe being so hard to deal with. But I got that mounted there, and it's temporary mounted to that wall there, and once we frame it in, I'll pop it off and just pull it out straight out, and it'll go right back where it is, but just 6.5, 7 inches farther out from where it is. So that's why the hose is kind of, all the pipe kind of bends out away from the wall there, so we'll have room to put that frame in behind it. And we didn't get it quite filled in yesterday. It was raining and we didn't want to work too late. We worked right up till dark, so about 4:30, and it's super pumpy and the compaction wheel's not doing very good. I was kind of using it like a tamper, but we're getting it put back in, and we don't have too much water this morning, and that's not enough to really worry about. So I pulled the pump out, and I'm going to start filling this back in, and hopefully we can get this kind of back tuned up and flattened off and get rid of our hole here. And I'll probably use some rock over here by the building. I put a little mud down in there, and I'll probably start throwing rock in here all the way up, and we'll get the jumping jack over here and do a little bit better of a job compacting right next to this building, so we don't have a big sinkhole develop under here, under the floor, or anything I'll have to mess with later. So yeah, I got the excavator warming up, and I'll track it over here and get started filling this all in. So hopefully it'll be interesting to see if we have more or less dirt left over when I get done. I'm guessing we'll have a tish left that I can't quite get back in there, being just so sloppy and wet and pumpy. So we'll see. Only time will tell. So I'll get started.
So that's a wrap on installing the geothermal for the shop. It took us 6 days of digging and backfilling and just a couple days building the loops. It's going to make a really huge difference having the geothermal in the shop year round, and we're really excited to have it working. The next video we're working on is going to be putting conduit in the shop, so we'll see you then.